Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 30th. Hope everybody's had a great day so far. There was a lot of action to get into from playoffs all around the league. We have eliminations in the NBA. Both the Heat and the Bucks have been eliminated. We'll talk about a potential matchup there. We'll talk about Giannis, his future with the Bucks. Then we'll turn our attention, of course, over to the other series, where they stand right now, as there's a couple really good ones both in the NBA and in the NHL. But before we get there, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 30th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into everything you need to know about the Giannis situation. That's where we're starting off our show today. Maybe the biggest story in all of sports right now. Of course, with the Bucks being eliminated last night against the Indiana Pacers, Giannis has now been eliminated from the playoffs in the first round 3 years in a row. 2 years in a row, he's been eliminated by those Indiana Pacers, and this year kind of felt like a swan song. There's been a lot of rumors, really ever since, even before the Bucks won their championship, that Giannis might want to be out of there, that Giannis might not want to see long-term future in Milwaukee. He's talked about superstars in big markets, how it's good to get superstars in big markets, and Milwaukee is not a big market. Let's not sugarcoat this. Milwaukee, not a big market. And while Milwaukee might have had its success, it won a championship in 2021 with Giannis, with Jrue Holiday, with Chris Middleton, all these guys. This is a much different Milwaukee team now. Other than Giannis, Bobby Portis, the big three have completely changed up. You've gone from Chris Middleton as a second option and Jrue Holiday as a third option to now Kyle Kuzma and Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, of course, now being out for all of next season with an Achilles injury, which is going to make this decision, I think, even a little bit easier for Giannis. There's a lot of futures he could go. Giannis has, and there have been rumors, a whole lot about where Giannis might end up. Whether or not that happens this offseason or at the trade deadline next season, I don't think he plays a full season in Milwaukee. The reason I say this is, again, there were rumors this season that he might want to go to the Heat or he might want to go to Brooklyn. There were rumors for the last couple years, really ever since they won a title, ever since he got that big contract, that, hey, if you don't build around me, I'm going to want out. And they've tried to build around him. Credit to the Bucks. They went out and they got Damian Lillard. They went out and they made some aggressive moves, the things that weren't working, like Chris Middleton. They moved off of him for a piece that in Kyle Kuzma that has worked out in the past. He's been a solid piece on a championship level team when he was early in his career with the Lakers. He just has not worked out. The defense just isn't good enough. They've been too injured, and now this is an old team. Giannis still has some years left. He was playing these playoffs like the best player in the NBA by really a pretty wide margin. He was averaging like 30 and 15 these playoffs, which is insane for anybody to do. But Giannis, who just kind of has become a little bit underrated, is definitely a guy that I think a lot of teams would love to go get. Now, of course, he is making a lot of money. He's on his max contract, so you're going to have to trouble to match that contract, but there's a couple teams out there that I'm looking at that have a real shot at landing Giannis. Of course, there's still a chance that he plays for the Bucks. He's been there his whole career. There's a chance that he just doesn't want to leave. But at the end of the day, this Milwaukee thing just isn't working out, and I think Giannis wants to keep winning. There's a couple teams that you have to mention that I'm going to do as, like, half contenders in this Giannis race. I'm going to start off with the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder have all of the assets in the world to give up for Giannis. The reason that they're not in this, aside from the fact that they'd have to give up some key young pieces, maybe like a Chet or a J-Dub, or you're obviously not going to give up Shea, but there's a lot of good pieces on this Thunder squad that you would have to give up and break up a team like this to get Giannis, and maybe that's worth it. Giannis is a very special player, but it definitely shortens the timeline for this Thunder team maybe even shorter than it already is. This is a Thunder team that's going to have to pay a lot of guys soon, and that window is going to be real short, especially with with the second apron rules that are coming out in the new CBA. How expensive it's going to be to go over the luxury tax with this team. I'm really curious how they're going to deal with that. The Thunder, I just don't think really is a real possibility. I would love to see the Thunder make a move, but they've been the 1 seed in the West now 2 seasons in a row. And I think especially this year, if they go far enough, they're going to feel like they can just run it back and run it back until something works. Maybe Sam Presti gets aggressive, because this is kind of exactly what happened with KD and Westbrook and Harden. But I think getting Giannis just feels a little bit more out of the picture for the Thunder than it does for a lot of these other teams. The Nets and the Heat I'm also putting in this category. These are teams that I think could make a trade. We've seen him have some kind of interest over there. The Nets, he has some family ties over there, but if he goes to the Nets, it'd just be like he's staying in Milwaukee, right? Brooklyn, not the hugest market. It's next to New York. It's in that New York market, but it's not New York, right? It's not the Knicks. It's still in New Jersey. It's the Nets. It's Brooklyn. It's that little brother team over there. So it's a bigger market, but still, they would have to give up a lot of the assets that would be worth a number 2 star for them, right? They don't really have that guy that they can turn to and say, okay, you're going to be that supporting cast for Giannis. It'd be just like he was playing in Milwaukee, except in a different color uniform. The Heat also the same way. We saw them kind of scratch and claw their way into the playoffs as they have for the last couple years. And this whole thing about Heat culture, they're the Steelers of the NBA, right? That's what they are. They're going to keep winning games, keep finding their way into the playoffs, and keep losing in the first round. Getting Giannis would stop that. But again, you ask the question, Giannis with this supporting cast over in Milwaukee, when compared to the supporting cast of him minus a couple players that it would take to go to Miami, maybe it would be a little bit better, but I don't see that kind of huge jump that it would take if he were to go to the Heat as opposed to playing with the Bucks again, where he's already familiar. A couple other places that he could go to that I really do like for him. I'm going to start off with the Orlando Magic. They're number 3 for me as far as places he should go. I love this fit for him. The Magic are a team that I truly believe in the bottom of my heart, truly 100% believe that if they were fully healthy this year, the Magic would be a top 3 team in the East this year. They would be better than the Knicks. I don't think they'd be better than the Celtics, but this is a Magic team that if they were fully healthy would be really good. Their defense is insane. They remind me a lot of the Rockets, actually. They struggle with 3-point shooting, but their defense is amazing. If they can space the floor out a little bit, getting a guy like Giannis that can be a real help both defensively and on the offensive side of the ball, you get him to run your offense. That is a much different looking Magic team, and this is a Magic team that we're talking about a lot different, especially if they're fully healthy. They're a team that I'd love for him to get. The other 2 teams that I think are in the West, and that makes it a little more optimistic, right? We see teams all the time in all these sports not want to trade in conference when you're giving up a big player like this. Luka was a weird exception for just about every single rule we'd possibly see, but you talk about these big trades, you want to face them as little as possible. You don't want it to bite you in the butt, so you trade him cross-conference. You trade him to the West, which is where we're going to go. And we're going to start with the number 2 seed in the West, a team that I just compared to the Magic, the Rockets. The number 2 seed right now, their big weakness is offense, right? They have a really, really good young core that's excellent defensively. Their high-octane defense is really good. You have a lot of guys coming off the bench, and you have guys to spare. You also have a lot of picks to give up here. The Rockets, if they get Giannis, they get a true offensive engine, they would dispatch the Warriors this round. I truly believe it, right? You don't have to put so much weight on your shooters that are a little bit inconsistent. You could use them as that inside-out kind of offense, and I love that for the Rockets. They are the number 2 team on my list, really just because I don't know who they would give up. It's a young team, and they didn't make a big move at the deadline because they didn't want to close their window. I like this Rockets team a lot, and I think that's a spot they could go. But my favorite fit for him, my number 1 team for Giannis to go to, that is the San Antonio Spurs. And you can look at me like I'm crazy, but you think about that front court with Giannis and Wemby in it. You'd probably have to give up Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle. I'm not going to lie. You'd have to give up your future, but you get those 2 guys down there along with a couple of pieces that you already have. You'd probably have to give up Sohan, but you get some backcourt that you can sign in free agency. You make a couple big splashes there. You add Giannis and Wemby together. That is a deadly duo, and a lot of people want to come and play with Wemby right now. You have a big three of Wemby, Fox, and Giannis. Who's stopping the Spurs there? That is a crowded Western Conference, but those are the three teams that I think really could make a hard push for Giannis this year. In this offseason, I'm looking at the Magic, the Rockets, and the Spurs to be the big guys that make a move for him. I also expect him to find a spot on one of them. I think the most likely team, probably the Rockets, but the Spurs are probably my favorite fit for him to go to. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think Giannis stays in Milwaukee? There is a real chance that he does, but with the way that everything is kind of heading, the way that everything seems like it's going after this loss to the Pacers, it seems like he's more likely than not to be out of there. Where do you think he goes if he leaves? And what do you think he does what do you think it would take for him to stay? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the game, the action from last night in the NBA, including the Pacers versus the Bucks. We'll preview the Pacers versus Cavs in the next series, everything you need to know about what was a crazy ending in overtime. We'll talk about that and much more coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going over potential landing spots for Giannis Antetokounmpo, the star for the Milwaukee Bucks after they've been eliminated, and the outlook for them just isn't that good. In this segment, we turn our attention over to the game action itself. We saw the Bucks get eliminated. We saw the Pacers advance. How did it happen? A crazy game, 2 blown leads by the Bucks in the fourth quarter and overtime, a couple weird incidents after involving Tyrese Halliburton's father. We'll talk about all of that in just a second, but before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 30th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into everything you need to know about that Pacers-Bucks elimination game. This one seemed like a Bucks victory through and through. They were up by 20 points early on in this one. Even without Damian Lillard, they came out hot. They came out with a fight. Then the Pacers started balling. The Pacers, what they've done all year long is do it by committee, right? We saw Tyrese Halliburton have a good game. Siakam didn't have his greatest game. Neither did Miles Turner. But you got 19 from Benedict Mathurin in this one. Giannis went for 36. Gary Trent, how about that? He was kind of the big story of this actual game. Gary Trent goes for 33 points. 12 points in the overtime period, went on a 12-0 run all by himself, basically, to give the Bucks a pretty solid lead in overtime, a lead that they had 7 points by with 43 seconds remaining. But that wasn't the whole story with Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr., who, again, played really well this game, just had 2 brutal turnovers that ended up costing the Bucks not just this game, but their entire season. The first one, he's trapped in the corner, double on him. He's trying to get the ball out. He just tries to throw it to a teammate. That is pickpocketed. The pass is intercepted. That is first one. That one, I got to say, not the worst turnover in the world. He was not in a great situation. The shot clock was running down. He needed to get rid of it. It wasn't a great shot for him to take. He was kind of stuck. I think that was just really good defense by the Pacers rather than a bad play by Gary Trent Jr. The real one that's getting all the attention is with about 20 seconds left in the game. The Pacers had just cut the lead down to 1 point after a dunk by Tyrese Halliburton. The Bucks get the ball inbounded. They get it past half court. They're trying to waste more time as the Pacers try and foul. A pass comes across the court, fired a little low to Gary Trent Jr., and he just whiffs it. It goes between his legs, a turnover, which eventually leads to Tyrese Halliburton hitting that game winner with just under 2 seconds remaining in the game, where Gary Trent Jr. just has to put up a shot, doesn't come close, and the Bucks are eliminated in that one. Gary Trent Jr., I feel bad for him. He's a guy that had a really solid game outside of one really bad play that mattered at the biggest time. But they also blew 2 big leads. They blew that 7-point lead in overtime with 43 seconds remaining, but they also blew a lead at the end of regulation. They had a 4-point lead with about a minute left in regulation. You hit your free throws, you make your shots. Seems like that game is just about over. You're heading back to Milwaukee for Game 6. Instead, in Game 5, the Bucks are eliminated. One of the big stories that's also coming out of this game is the whole interaction between Giannis, the Pacers, and Tyrese Halliburton's dad. Mr. Halliburton, Tyrese Halliburton's father, comes out on the court once the game is over, holding a little rally towel with Tyrese Halliburton's face on it, basically goes and taunts him. Say, that's right, we're like that, we beat you. I don't have the exact quote here, but Giannis went over and talked about it, and he got into his face a little bit. They had a little bit of an altercation, and that's brought up a couple of things. First of all, it's a weird situation. You want to talk about not politics as in, the government, but NBA politics. This is something that is going to be really interesting how they handle it. Because if that was me, or if that was you, or if that was your weird uncle that came onto the court and started doing that, he would never be allowed into the Pacers arena, let alone any other arena probably ever again. That is something that is a lifetime ban level offense. Taunting a player on the court, Giannis didn't hit him, but he could have. That's an emotional moment for you. Your team loses in brutal fashion, and then you have just some dude come on the court and be like, "That's right, my team won," holding up a towel with Tyrese Halliburton's face on it. That's not the right way to do that. But you can't really just say, Tyrese Halliburton's dad, you're not allowed to ever show up to a basketball game ever again, because Tyrese Halliburton is one of the stars of your league. I'm really curious how they handle it, because this is not something that I think is going to, get out of hand. This isn't something that I expect to, go where, he did it, so now LeBron's mom can go do this. Now Kevin Durant's mom can go do this. Now LeVar Ball can go hop on the court and say whatever he wants whenever he wants, right? This is not something that's going to start a trend amongst NBA parents, but it is something that shouldn't be accepted. It's something that should be punished at some point. I just don't know exactly how they're going to do it, because that was not the right way to conduct yourself. You can't go out there. This is not your victory. This is your son's victory. This is your son's teammates' victory. This is not for you to go and taunt a 7-foot-tall Greek man. You don't go do that. That's not the right way to handle yourself. And props to Giannis for being, I guess, level-headed. I mean, he definitely got in his face and had a little bit of an altercation, but it could have been a lot worse. This does set up a Cavs versus Pacers series, and this one is going to be really, really fun to watch. The Cavs, of course, coming off of a dominant sweep of the Miami Heat. That had a historic plus-minus of 129, the largest plus-minus margin in a single series in the history of the NBA. The first 10 seed to ever make it to the playoffs. Probably a little bit of correlation there. The Cavs and the Pacers are both very deep teams. You want to talk about going star for star? You got Halliburton and Donovan Mitchell, Mobley and Siakam. You've got Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, and Miles Turner. These guys going at it. Those are just the stars. You go to the bench, Mathurin and Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell put up really good minutes for the Pacers. You've got Ty Jerome and all these guys going in for the Cavs. DeAndre Hunter as well. This is a lot of really good talent. Both of these teams are very deep. Both of these teams love to play fast, and both of these teams really play a very similar style of ball, right? These are both teams that love to shoot three. They crash the boards pretty hard. I think I'm leaning towards the Cavs in this one just because of their defense being a little bit better. You have Defensive Player of the Year Evan Mobley on that roster. You also have Jarrett Allen making a little bit of a Twin Towers kind of situation down low for you. That's really good. I love this team. If Darius Garland is able to be healthy, if Darius Garland can play that full 6-game series, whatever it's going to be, I give this one to the Cavs. But with Darius Garland's health kind of a little bit up in the air, he missed 2 of the games in the first round against the Heat. Didn't really seem to matter, but that's someone that I think they really are going to need against a solid Pacers team, a Pacers team that made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year against after beating a Knicks team in 7 that I know and I think a lot of other people didn't really give them a good chance against. This is going to be a really fun series. Both of these teams are kind of getting a lot of disrespect from the fans, a little bit from the media, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to go, how they're going to be handled when you talk about the media spotlight. I think I'm taking Cavs in 7, though. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for the second round series. The second round of the NBA is going to be amazing. It always is. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think happens in a Pacers-Cavs series? What did you think of what happened on the court and after the game between the Bucks and the Pacers? I'd love to hear what you have to say. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the other games in the NBA. There were a couple big ones. The Pistons survived a Game 5, a potential elimination game for them, and the Nuggets dominated an all-important Game 5 as well, one that decides about 80% of series in situations like that one. We'll talk about that and much more coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.